Hi everybody, welcome to another video. Today we'll be focusing on ships that were infamous in World Warships. Enjoy. We're going to talk about the ships which were most infamous during the year of 2021. I like to start things off with a bang, so we're starting with Yukon. Yukon, for those that are unaware, was a whole situation involving the month of August of 2021, in which Little White Mouse was asked to design a warship, a Commonwealth warship named Yukon. Now the whole drama kind of started off around, I want to say June, and then it boiled into August with a huge amount of community contributors leaving the program. Most notably, the Mighty Jingles, Little White Mouse, I Chase Gaming, Userel, and a couple others. Or should I say more than a couple others. We had at least 30 of them leave. So why did this happen? This happened because there was bad communication with Wargaming and Little White Mouse and Shibitsu. I'm happy to say that a lot of that animosity has worn away over time. A lot of communication's been restored. Wargaming is doing a better job with that. We can't sit there and say that they're not, because that wouldn't be accurate and true, because it is true. They are showing us the drop chances on ships. I'm kind of coming fresh off the top 5 premium ships of 2021 off of Sea Lord Mountbatten. I just finished watching that just not too long ago, and I thought, yes, those ships are pretty good that you put in that list, but I feel that we need to talk more about what ships people sort of had an issue with, essentially. Yukon's number one, so that's why we're starting with it. I want to say that Yukon isn't trash. It does well. It does well in your scenario battles. That's where its primary strength is in scenarios. Yes, she's going to struggle a bit in your co-op or random battle mode. That's a given. But the ship is not trash. I kind of got that impression when I was watching Sea Lord Mountbatten's video. It's not a trash ship. It does hold its own. It's just that you have to play more up close with it, if you will. Damage it puts out is pretty good for its tier. Yes, Monarch will outperform her in most cases. Monarch is tier 8, not tier 7. Obviously, you know, it takes time to really get to work well with the ship, you know? Not all of your shots are going to hit. Yeah, that's a given. Yukon is more suited for your mid-range. Your mid-range offenses, pretty much. That's where it's more suited for. More suited for your mid-range. Don't sit there and try to play the long range with it, otherwise you're going to struggle greatly with it. I would put Yukon more in a meh Bodhi category if I had to sit there and give it a rating here. It's not trash. It has its strengths. They're not inside of random and co-op, obviously. They're more in scenarios. That's where it's more strong. There with some other videos of this list, you're gonna kind of understand where I'm going with this. I'm trying to talk about ships that people overall just had a bad perception of, whether it be at first or later on, pretty much. But I find that our Yukon is pretty interesting indeed. Now, just to talk more about present day with the whole Yukon situation, we got the Chobitsu camouflage coming into the game here. Next patch 11.0, so that's something to look forward to. Little White Mouse and Wargaming have reconciled, so that's good. That's been taken care of. That thread The initial thread on that review for that ship went over like 50-something pages, by the way. So it was no small thing. It was a major event. And yes, I do agree with Sealer Mountbatten. It was bigger than the Yukon situation. For me, I find the ship does better in scenarios versus random and co-op. It's going to be weaker in those modes. In scenarios, that's where you get it to really shine. It's got its strong heel to go with as well. Let's go on to our next ship. That I'd like to go to a recent ship that really just came into the game here, Marlborough. Marlborough's thing is it is not a really strong dockyard ship, let's be honest. It's down there with D7 Provincian, if not slightly below her. It's gonna take time to really know for sure where it falls on the list. So your strength, so Marlborough, what does it have going for it? Not really much of anything, really. It just has its huge heavy broadside, and it's not always the most accurate. It's not always the most accurate ship. And I know a lot of people have been talking about Marlborough a lot on the forums. I believe that the next dockyard is going to be Atlantico. I believe that's going to be the next dockyard ship. Hopefully it's not gimped like Marlborough is. I don't really know when I'm going to pull this ship out unless I'm having to do the grind for it on snowflakes. That's really the only time I'm probably going to pull it out, honestly. Unless I'm doing a review on Marlborough. But I guess consider this your mini review on Marlborough, because the guns are just terrible. Accuracy is just really bad on it. I think your biggest takeaway, you know, for this year is Wargaming's redemption. I think that's your biggest takeaway. They sort of redeemed themselves by their actions. They took a lot of time to address concerns on the forums. I always give credit where it's due. This dockyard ship is not the strongest. I'm sure Little White Mouse is plugging away on her review of this ship and she's going to give it a bad rating. I would completely agree with that. That Yukon game wasn't the best Yukon game. I will say this. If you have Yukon, sit there and take her out into Scenario Narai. That is where you're going to get some good performance out of her, especially. It does better in scenarios than it does in the normal game modes. And I'm sure that a lot of people will be like, it's such a terrible ship, blah blah blah. Well, maybe for randoms and co-op, yes, but for scenarios, no. It's quite the opposite. Honestly, the ships that you find that struggle in randoms surprisingly do well in scenarios, because you're dealing with bots for a majority of your targets. I think one of your biggest annoyances with Marlborough, if you haven't tried her out already, is your accuracy. Your accuracy. Look at how many of my shells are not hitting. That's just ridiculous. We're gonna try firing off a volley against Zal. This is testing the AP specifically right now. Switch over to our high explosive here and we'll see what kind of performance we get out of it. I mean, your reload was okay for the guns it has, but it is not a strong performer. It is not a strong performer at all. Honestly, if you had to ask me what the best dockyard ship of all time was, I would have to point you in the direction of ZF6. That, in my opinion, is the best dockyard ship of all time. I believe it did release during the year of 2021. There's one on the good list. But Marlborough, I think you're better off using the high explosive shells most of the time with it. Your shells aren't always going to hit. And if there was tier 10 scenarios, this ship would probably be the one you'd probably want to take out for the close range for the bots. Nah, you're better off with Lion. Lion's better than the ship in almost every way. The only thing that this has going for it is probably a slightly better damage per minute. That's about it. You just really struggle hard with this ship. That's a given. No? Alright, let's get on to our next ship here. Alright, next ship. Here's Sarge. Here's Sarge attracted a lot of attention back when it was first put into super test. But it is not a bad ship in practice. It's pretty good. So this is more of an honorable mention more than anything before we get to the next one. "2021 was an interesting year for ships. We lost a lot of good community contributors because of Wargaming's miscommunications between them and the community. But yes, they have redeemed themselves at the end of it all. Yes, we are getting the camouflage that Trebitsu initially designed for the ship, which was one of Little White Mouse's conditions. Here we go. We should also give an honorable mention to submarines.
I am Optimus Prime, leader of the Autobots. Autobots, roll out.
Submarines just really kind of snuck in there toward the middle of the summer, and they just really dominated the battles for a while because of how powerful their Alpha Strike was with their torpedoes. They just completely decimated everything. I'm still working on that 2021 recap video, but when I saw the Sea Lord Mount Bond's video, I was inspired to do this video. So, credit to Sea Lord Mount Bond for giving me the inspiration for this video. So this ship is not quite as infamous as Yukon and Marlborough, but it did attract a lot of attention when it was in Super Test. You had Zoop, not Sir, but you had Zoop and you had Sea Lord Mount Bond make videos on it. I believe also Potato Called. Raging Canadian as well, I think. Yeah. I'm recalling my timeline correctly. I believe this ship came out into the wild in October. For actual gameplay. I believe it was October or November. Not probably early November. It does have its strengths in the gun and the volley of its guns. I think one of the things you're gonna have to sit there and pay attention to is your is switching between the different shells, you know, and managing your planes at the same time. In some cases. Tiger 59. Huh. I think this video would get a little too long if we started talking about Tiger 59 featuring a gameplay of Tiger 59. Tiger 59 A lot of people were thinking it wasn't going to be that strong. A lot of people didn't think she would be strong. She is strong in an anti-destroyer role. That's where she's strong, but as you can see there, it's easy to hit Tiger 59 pretty quick. As for a ship that just really got passed over by everybody, Borodino. Besides Yukon, Borodino. People just did not take a liking to Borodino. It just kind of got ignored during the whole CC Yukon situation. It just kind of got passed over by a lot of people. Kind of the same with the next ship on this list when we get to it. If I started like including a gameplay of Tiger 59, look at that. He performed well. A lot of athletes here. Where am I? Steer more that way while I get my planes out. It'd be silly of me not to pull out the planes. Actually, I'd go after Soviet Soyuz. Now we're gonna go after Soviet Soyuz and see if I can get a good hit on it. These rocket planes perform pretty well. You get about one squadron every 2 minutes. Alright, let's get in there. There. Russians tend to not have the strongest AA. There we go. I often find the situation where most of the targets in co-op are taken out by torpedoes. Kind of funny. A lot of ricochets there. But I think your Sarge is a decent premium to pick up. It's on this list because a lot of people weren't too happy with it in the beginning. They were like, what is this thing? What is this? Did this really exist? Let's get to our final ship here. Congress. Congress is on this list because a lot of people think that Congress does not perform well. They think it's a weaker Alaska, which it is in a sense. It's got a weird gun arrangement, and it just really takes some precision to really make her work well. This is the last ship on my little list of ships of infamy. I can't really think of any other ships that are infamous during the year of 2021. I think we about covered them here with Congress. I don't really think we need to get into Borodino because Borodino just kind of was that ship that a lot of people just didn't care for it. Congress, a lot of people were up in arms about because of her bad performance in battles, which I tend to agree with. It does perform badly in battles from time to time, especially in the accuracy department, but not as bad as Marlborough. Marlborough has worse accuracy than this. This is better accuracy than Marlborough. You gotta understand that it is not a normal cruiser, so it's not gonna have the best accuracy. Let's talk about what people thought about Congress. A lot of people thought that this ship was gonna be on the same performance terms as Alaska, which it is not. But one of her strong points still is the long radar duration for now. I say for now because Wargaming is known to go into their little balancing spree and they adjust some premiums after the fact, which they've started putting on the text for 2021 premium ships, I believe. Keep that in mind. But the 2021 recap video, when I get that done, it's going to be nice. I'm going to be recapping all the channels. Congress itself, a lot of people really upset about her not being as strong as Alaska. But I want to sit there and talk about sister ships to Alaska. It is not the most infamous when it comes to that. or should I say related class to Alaska. So that would be Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico is the most infamous ship of all time besides Yukon, which you saw at the start of this video. One of the takeaways I think we can learn from 2021 is that we should hold companies accountable when they do something really stupid, which I believe the public opinion and the public press really did a good job of. I think one of the things when I look back on the year is the super ships. The super ships kind of still have me a little bit annoyed. That's what yesterday's video was all about. I'll kindly point you to that video. And torpedoes. But I find that Congress it's okay. It's not the strongest ship, but it does serve a good role. Convoys, it was pretty strong, and when that game one was up and running. I don't know what happened to it. Hope we see a return of it, actually. I do think that it was heavily weighted in the form of the attackers. I feel like the attackers had the home field advantage there. With Congress, better played at the mid-range. Mid-range to long-range, you don't want to get too close with it normally. This. Who's destroyer by me? Oh, look at that. The secondaries took care of that. You're not getting the highest damage with Congress. Keep that in mind. Even against the Pensacola, it's struggling a little bit. So I want you to let me know what you think of my list in the comments below. Tell me what you think. I think I've about covered everything. I can't think of any other ship to really feature in this besides Borodino. Borodino wasn't really talked about negatively. It was really clear Sarge, Congress, and Yukon, and Marlborough. And I think Marlborough did deserve to be in this video because it is a 2021 ship release. I know that some may not agree and they think it should probably go in the next year, but I'm like, no. It released this year, it's going in the list. So, yeah, you know, I can't really think of any other ships to really include in here. I think that we pretty much covered them all. This battle will probably end in a sec here. I want you to tell me down below, what other ships do you think are infamous for the year of 2021? What ships do you think I should have included in this list? Think there's any ships I should have added? As a little side note, Leone does do well in operations. She will do well in operations. Yeah, she just kind of stuck in there a lot. Had to get up close with Leon though. Otherwise, you know, I hope you enjoyed this video and I hope you got something good out of it. I know it's been a long year for us all, but at the end of the day, I hope that we're all getting through it okay. Hope that the next year's a little bit better than 2021, and we have a bright future ahead of us because Wargaming has sat there and they've followed through on their word. They've shown us the container chances, and they've done a good job in my eyes for this year. They recovered pretty quick, so that's good. So don't forget to like, watch, and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next video. Thank you.